My name is Elli Kultanen and I'm from Woodley, and our product is a wood-based packaging material that resembles traditional fossil-based plastics. So I think the most important thing to think about now is that I personally think that there will not be a world without plastic in a very long time. And it's not going to be that everything would be switched to carbon, for example, carbon-based materials. For example, hospitals could not run their operations without plastic. There would be no electronics or transportation or anything like that. So plastic is it has a very big vital role in our modern life and modern society. But when it comes to packaging, I understand that there's a big consensus of plastic is bad, plastic needs to be replaced, or plastic cannot be used in all these situations by 2050 or something like that. But I personally also think that plastic is such a good material in so many ways that it just can't be replaced for its own. But the main point here, this picture I took from Fachbach in Germany from a fair, and I think this was a very good message. Paper where possible, plastic when useful. And I also think that the plastic problem is not only the pollution problem, it's a problem of emissions. Because in the next 25, 30 years, the plastic production will generate a lot of CO2 emissions. I think that's a bigger problem than the pollution problem. Because it will take so much of our future carbon budget, and it can be stopped at the moment. So here's the harsh reality of the projected plastic production, and this is to 2050. And I think the problem with this is not the pollution, but the emissions. They will triple and quadruple, so it's a lot. And so we at Woodley, we are a firm believer in circular economy and recycling, because when products are not recycled, for example, when they're biodegraded, they are a part of the fossil fuel linear economy. So we are taking materials to make single-use plastic products, and then we're discarding them, and then we need new resources. Our way of thinking is that if we make a material, it has to come from a sustainable source, and it has to be used as many times as possible. So we truly try to be an advocate for sustainable growth. And our material is carbon negative as a granulate, and it can be made into carbon neutral film solutions, for example. And this is very briefly. People usually ask us why we didn't go to the biodegradable section. Some problems are that some biodegradable and compostable materials are made from fossil resources, and we will not have those resources at some point in our time. And of course, when we make single-use items, we have to always get new materials. So the biodegradable packaging contributes to linear economy. So, and also when they biodegrade, they release all the emissions that have come with them. So the methane and carbon dioxide, they get released back into the air. And also that the biodegradable and bio-based materials were not invented to solve the marine litter problem, which is the biggest pollution problem. And so there has been, at least in Finland and in Europe, there have been problems with the biodegradable materials in the bio-waste management, that they have to be picked from the waste source because they are not biodegrading fast enough. And so they have to be picked up and transported to incineration anyhow. So we are a Finnish tech startup, and we started the product development in 2011. It has been rough 7 and 9 years of developing the material, because no one else has done this before. So our main goal is to make more sustainable options compared to fossil-based plastics. And this is a Woodley granulate. It's made from cellulose from sustainably managed forests. And so here's an example of our Woodley packaging. It looks exactly like traditional polypropylene, but it has the same functions as traditional plastic, but it's bio-based. At the moment, we have 3 product lines. So the first ones in the circular, they're film packaging, and we have done some industrial tests, and they're commercially viable. And then we have the Woodley 200 that is rigid packaging, and Woodley 300 that can be used for carbon coatings, and we're still developing these. So we have made a life cycle assessment study, and it can be found on our website if you want to go take a closer look. So the key messages of why we're making this product and why we can say that it's more environmentally friendly is that our product is carbon negative, and when we scale up the production from this pilot scale, the environmental impacts will improve. And then, of course, when the product is recyclable and recycled as many times, it acts as a intermittent carbon storage. And biggest one, of course, is solving the fossil-based plastic problem. And so the material comes from FSC certified forests, our cellulose. So it's very sustainably managed and produced. And because our product is a drop-in granulate, it can be manufactured with all existing machinery and processes, so it does not need further investments or purchases of new machinery or equipment. We have also done testing and have received certifications that Woodley is also suitable for food contact. Here I have 6 main points why Woodley is a great option for traditional fossil-based plastics. So the main thing is that we are reducing the dependency on fossil feedstock. And here are some numbers. So we have a TÜV Austria certificate for 40 to 60% bio-based content, and we're constantly growing the number. It of course takes a lot of time and development, but we're always all the way trying to get there, to get it to the 100% or to the 80-90%, or adding recycled material to it also. And we are a verified solution because our life cycle assessment study showed that we are carbon negative as a granulate and carbon neutral as a ready-made material. And these studies were done with ISO standards. And of course, using Woodley reduces the need for virgin feedstock, so you don't always have to cut down the tree and get the cellulose again and again to make a single-use product. And from a brand's perspective, because it's a drop-in granulate, you don't need the further investments. And we have found out that the processing quality of Woodley is equal to fossil-based plastic. So it can be processed in very high heats. For example, PLA, that's a great material. It can't stand high heats, and it can be used in certain solutions the same way as Woodley can be. And of course, we have done consumer testings with Virpi and package testing and research and Sense and Insight. And we have found out that Woodley truly supports the brand's core messages on responsibility, and consumers understand the message. The main point here is that usually innovations like this are kept in a safe. They get their own, patent, and then they're in VTT lockers for 20 years and no one does anything with them. And the main point is the price. The manufacturers don't want the raw materials to have a lot of price on them because it's new, you can only make a certain amount of it, so the price is of course going to be high. For example, our cost is higher than traditional PET or polypropylene or other types of plastic. So our approach has to be going directly to the consumer, because consumers want something different. They want to have options. They want to choose something else. They feel threatened by the plastic. They feel like they have no options. They feel like they can't do anything to change the tide. So our focus has been going directly to the consumers who express their concerns to the brand, and the brand has to act. And the winners in the sustainability race are the brands that act first. And I think that's a great thing. It's not for monetary good, but it's for the values of our life and our planet and our people. And of course, when we have done the consumer testings, we narrowed down the messages to a distinct label. It's still in process, it's still in development, but we found out that these messages really resonate with the consumer. They feel like they understand what they're buying and what is the message. For example, in the Finnish version, we have the .fi in the end of our logo, and that gives the consumer the opportunity to go to our website and seek the further information. 95% of the consumers take the label as it is, but then there's the 5% of people, the forerunners, the inventors, who want to see where the numbers come from. Why can you say that this is better for the environment? And then we have the information available for them. And when we studied these packaging options, we had Virpi's toolkit used and other kinds of evaluating schemes that we had packaging that was traditional plastic, and then we would add Woodley sticker and see what people would think, and they would be like, oh, this feels like it's different plastic, and and of course I love it, it's great. So we were trying to find out what are the values that come from this packaging material. And the consumers actually thought, because the actual Woodley is very similar to traditional plastic, you can't actually tell them apart that much. So it's a good thing. But we just have to communicate to the consumer that this is different because it's so similar. So the message can be lost. People will be like, so what can you make? Is this made from wood? Did you cut down a tree and saw it down a little bit and now it's clear? What happened? And we thought that the label would be the best way to deliver this information, because consumers seek the visual information from the packaging when they're buying things. And so the main point is also that the consumer does not have to be an expert on sustainability. They don't have to know about how a life cycle assessment is calculated. They don't have to know what kind of recycling options there are for all the different kinds of plastics. They just need to know that they can make a difference and they can trust that something will happen. Of course, there are the people who are very interested, and that's a good thing that we have the forerunners. But unfortunately, packaging is, Andrew, I'm sorry, but packaging is not that sexy for a lot of consumers. They think it as an everyday item. They sometimes look at the price, but there are people who are willing to look at the design and who are very conscious of what's going to happen next and want to buy the better products. And that's, of course, driving the sustainability now, that consumers want carton-based packaging, for example. So very briefly, we got, thanks to Virpi, we got the most difficult consumer group. We reached them, the 50-year-old man. We got him to answer our survey. And we did this with Rapala packaging. That's a lure packaging for fishing. And I think it's great that, for example, the man on the top right, I think it's great that a strong brand such as this is communicating about this sort of thing. So consumers want the brand that they love to be a forerunner in sustainability issues. So they can trust the brand, so they can trust the message that it gives. So our current status is that our film line is currently viable in industrial scale, and we have projects with partners from the plastics industry because they have the machinery, they have the processes ready. And we are a team of 4 people, and we don't have a production plant. We're a very lean organization. We purchase the raw materials, the granulation, the transportation, and everything like that. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the brand to switch their packaging material to Woodley, because it will not require for us to build a 75 million euro pilot plant in Czech Republic or anything like that. And so we have our first customers from different industries, and the first products will be out at the end of this year. And here are some prototypes we have done for Rapala. So these are Woodley packages. This is not traditional PET plastic, for example. And it's very indistinguishable. You can't see really the difference. And here are some references. We have won 1 award, waiting for the next one. And our first commercial solution was demoed for Järvikylä, and they make potted herbs and salads, for example. And then we have been a lot in media because the subject of replacing traditional plastics is it's still going on. And here is our team. We're a team of 4 people and growing all the time. So yeah, thank you.